Welcome everybody to heat number 3, the final heat in the Gallery of Guitar competition. This is it. This is the last night. You're going to see 9 fantastic young guitarists, full of talent, performing some really varied repertoire. So just like the last couple of nights, we're going to have a great time listening to this amazing talent that we've got on show. Welcome, Kate. How are you doing this evening?
Fantastic, and I cannot wait to see another 9 performers. We've had just a huge breadth of music to hear. Tonight's repertoire is also really fascinating. I can't wait to talk with our new panel and see who's in the chat room. It's going to be a fantastic night.
Absolutely. And talking of our new panel, tonight we have with us, all the way from Paris, or just outside Paris, I should say, Thomas Viloteau. Welcome, Thomas.
Hi, Matthew. Hi, Kate, Emma. It's so great to be here. Can't wait to listen to all those players and see how they're doing.
Absolutely. It's great to have you with us. Thank you so much for
sharing.
Sharing your advice and your experience with such a great group of young talent this evening. They will find what you've got to say really important. So it's fantastic. And then in the Rocky Mountains, British Columbia, is that where you are tonight, Emma?
Indeed. Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm really happy to be joining the 3 of you and all the competitors today. I've really enjoyed hearing everyone that's played so far. And this is all very exciting.
Oh, that's great. That's smashing. Well, tonight we would have normally had 3 judges like we've had in the past, or 3 jury members live. We don't have Stephen Mattingly with us this evening. Unfortunately, he's been waylaid. So you're going to have to make do with a bit of McAllister. Of course, I will just be making some general observations and things like that. Stephen will, of course, be marking behind the scenes. He will be listening to all the videos, and all of his marks and all of his feedback will go into the competition documents that will be shared with all the competitors. So don't worry, if you were looking for Stephen's feedback, you will still be getting it. So a little bit of a rundown of the structure of the evening. Of course, if you've been watching over the last couple of nights, you sort of know what's going on. But we play the videos of the 9 competitors. We let them play their pieces. Their pieces are usually 2 pieces, or at least contrasting repertoire. No more than 12 minutes in length. So some people just go for it and play 2 pieces, and some people play a few pieces. The only requirement was that the repertoire had to be contrasting, and it was a free choice. And as has been discussed earlier in the week, there's no age limit to this competition. So once we play a performance, we will go to the jury and get some feedback and some thoughts about maybe the performance, maybe the style of repertoire, maybe the choice, and just get the party started. So do you want to take us away, Kate, with the first contestant?
Oh, Yuliia Makarenko, yes, hailing from Paisley, Scotland, my friends. She will be performing the Etude number 1 by Giulio Regondi and Don Julian by Máximo Diego Pujol. And we love to ask everybody why they have chosen these particular pieces. And she says with the Etude, she can improve her technical skills and expressive playing, and was attracted to the Don Julian because the piece is written in tango style. And there are 2 different parts in it, one fast, one more lyrical and slow. So she enjoys the 2 contrasts in the same piece. As for her guitar, it was made yet another, a Michael Ritchie in 2023. And by the way, Matthew McAllister, you helped her choose this guitar, and she likes it because it's very bright, contrasty, and loud. Our first competitor with the first, what looked like a lot of fun to the end of the first piece. So let's have our first moment of judge feedback. Let's go to Emma. Emma Rush, what did you think of Yuliia's performance? Do you have some notes for her?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I liked the contrast between the pieces. I thought that was really great choice. And I loved how Yuliia brought a real sort of different atmosphere and different energy to each piece. And you could tell she had a sort of new approach to each one. I also thought there was a great, particularly in the second piece, like lots of great color and articulation. And I thought she really sort of embraced the style and went for it, which I really enjoyed. So I love so much seeing, you know, when people are clearly into the repertoire that they're playing.
Yeah, you could definitely feel that from her.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
She's got a nice bounce about the way she plays. You know, there's like a nice sort of rhythmical energy, which is really nice. Yeah, you know, Thomas, what did you think? You know, what were you enjoying about Yuliia's performance there?
I thought it was very passionate, which is really goes what Emma was saying, and that's the most important thing, really. I mean, there's just, I mean, of course, you know, the technical aspects of things. It's just it has to be there because we can't really express that you know. But she has this, you know, at the core of her. It's just like she's never going to lose that, you know. That's the most important thing, I think, in a musician. So well done. I thought it was a really compelling performance.
Yeah, absolutely. More than agree for sure. So for those of you that are watching, it's really important for the competitors not just to hear from the esteemed judges that we have, you know, Emma and Thomas with us tonight, also from yourselves as well. So please, you know, we're already seeing some great comments coming in supporting all the players. If you have any questions about repertoire or competitions in general, please ask them, because, you know, certainly members here tonight have played in lots of competitions over the years and might have some advice or some tips for people that are playing. Also, the results, we were talking about that earlier on. Right now, we're collating all the scores from the previous two heats, and Kate and I will come back tomorrow night at the same time for a results show, where we will give the results of the 6 finalists and play just some little excerpts of their performances from the last couple of nights. So more details about that results show later on tonight. So continuing with our next performer this evening. Next performer is a young gentleman called Ryan Martin, and he is from a town which is called Cumbernauld, and it's outside of Glasgow. It's another Scottish performer, and he's playing some Bach and some Villa-Lobos, so very contrasting there in his choices. He's playing the first movement, the prelude from Bach's BWV 997, and then he's playing the 11th etude by Villa-Lobos. When we asked him why he was playing these pieces, he said he loves playing Bach and he finds his music so complicated, which he just loves. And he's a massive Villa-Lobos fanboy. His pieces are always fun to play. So he's obviously right into the Villa-Lobos, you know. A fun fact about Ryan, he plays guitar and mandolin in an orchestra on a Wednesday night, and he's a massive fan of the band Muse. And he once stood in line to see them for 9 hours. That's commitment. That's commitment to progressive rock, Ryan. We're very impressed with that. So from the progressive rock of Muse to the Bach and the Villa-Lobos, here is Ryan Martin. Yeah. Bravo.
Clapping on mute. Very nice.
Very nice. Yeah, lovely performance from Ryan there. Really drawing us in, I think, at the end of the Viloteau. What were your thoughts? What were your takeaways there, Thomas?
Yeah, it was a beautiful performance of both pieces. I think Ryan has a lot of very nice sensitivity for the music and great sounds in the guitar, really good sounds. In the bar, the articulation was very nicely done, which is, the most important. I think it should really speak. Music should just be like vocal music, and he had that. That was very nice. The changes of colors were also very, very pretty. I would say I had to, and I don't know how much of this is, but I had to turn the volume up at some moment. It looked like Ryan was going inwards a little bit too much, I would say.
Interesting, yeah.
And who knows, it's also the computer and the speakers and the microphone. But I think, and that in the Villa-Lobos as well, in those very slow framing sections, I would suggest maybe to not go so inwards, because if I talk to Ryan right now, you got some really beautiful things to say. Really, you do, and I think the more sound you get, the better we catch that, and don't hide those beautiful ideas. So, but that was it. It was beautiful. I really liked it.
It's so nice to hear you speaking really directly to Ryan there, Thomas. And this is something to mention to everybody. I know that the competitors are watching. I mean, I've been getting some messages and some emails, over the last couple of days, because we've been doing this now for a few days. And, they're really appreciating having that direct feedback. And that was something we talked about in Heat 1, was that, in the first round of guitar competitions, if you don't pass to the next round, maybe you don't get any feedback from the jury, or maybe you're not the kind of player that goes up to the bar afterwards and has the confidence to tap somebody very famous on the shoulder and say, can you give me a bit of advice? You know what I mean? And then they turn around and tell you to go away, So, I mean, I think it's so nice that we have this opportunity. And I mean, Ryan is hilarious, because he's just saying there on the chat that he humbly apologizes for the state of his room. It's been a long day,
It was nice. I thought it was, because you could look like, what is he drinking?
Yeah. What is he reading? What's his DVD choice? It's great. Really good. But it's all kicking off in the chat, Kate. It seems to be going on. What's happening over there in the chat tonight?
So much, by the way, a really interesting chat room tonight with a lot of questions and comments. And there was one that I thought was really interesting from JR. Emma, I'm going to go to you with this question. JR wants to know, what are the challenges of preparing a video, which we just saw some of that, right, as opposed to a live performance? What do you think?
There's so many. It's really hard, I think, to prepare a video performance, not even just the preparation, but the executing it. So beyond, obviously you've got this level of technical, stuff you need to deal with your mics and recording gear and everything. I think the biggest challenge is figuring out how to approach the camera or your laptop or whatever you're playing to as if it's a real live audience. So you have to figure out a way to somehow channel that live performance energy and just fake it, and really try and connect with the camera in the same way. So you try really to deliver, a live performance experience, even though it might be something like a recorded performance, or the same goes for, a live stream concert or something like that, where you're in, where you don't have the audience with you. So just a level of imagination, I think, of the people that are going to, of the people that will be listening to your performance or watching it is required for sure.
I think it's interesting how those can go either way, because if you're doing a live performance, you have to fight that energy, right? You have to control that and do that. And then if you're videotaping, you have to try and bring some of that energy up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's also, with the video performance, there's the factor that it's permanent. So what might be a fleeting moment, in a live performance, it's sort of with us psychologically, that is, it's on tape, we've got to, live with the performance for quite a while. But
I think it's a great part of our training, and it's something that maybe we, I remember I used to say to a lot of students, like, record yourselves, but I'd be saying it when it would be like, like on a portable recorder, and then like get the file and all this kind of stuff. And now with the mobile phones, it's an amazing review of every practice session. It can be recording your lessons. It can be just, you're constantly able to touch and feel and get an idea of like what you've just done. It's not just a nostalgic aspect of your memory, like, after a day of practice in the bar with friends, you're like, yeah, it's going great. I think, maybe I'm the greatest guitarist of all time now. Do you know what I mean? It can easily escalate from like, you maybe managed to get the trill right for the first time that week, to I'm the second coming, So I think that this really kind of like play it back and see how you've done and then build on it and build on it. It's great. I mean, think about how much actors perform 2 lines, they're getting feedback all the time from directors and producers. They're practicing to mirror all the time, and I think it's really important for learning the skills of performance, just like you were sort of getting into there, that make it more than talk. You're talking through the camera to the audience. The audience isn't the camera. I think that's kind of what I was getting there from what you were saying, Emma, Yeah, great. Well, shall we continue? Shall we hear our next performer?
Oh, yes,
Kate.
let's. Okay, I'm going to introduce you to Ciaran next, everyone. Ciaran McKinven, living and studying in Edinburgh. Ciaran will be performing Canarion Gallardas by Francisco Guerrao and the Hymne à l'Amour, the Hymn to Love by Roland Diaz, and a Fantasy in A minor by David Kellner. So we're going to hear 3 pieces. Why? Well, Ciaran chose the pieces for their musicality, their openness to interpretation, and their sense of freedom in spirit. And about his guitar, he's playing a 2021 Roman Kutanov Cedar classical guitar. He became aware of him as he was a guitar builder and luthier in Ciaran's hometown, and he was drawn toward it because of its tonal power and richness.
My first piece is going to be Fantasia in A minor by David Kellner. My next two pieces are going to be the second and the fifth movement from Francisco Guaro's Poema Harmonico, the Gallardis and Canarios. final piece will be Himlamur by Rolandians.
Wow, nice notes still ringing out from that ambient space, even though you hit stop on the video. Can you tell us, give us, Emma, what do you have some notes? What do you think? What are your thoughts for Q?
Oh, sure. I really love this. There's different ways to approach how you're going to program your competition rep. And I really like this way where you sort of include quite a lot of pieces and almost turn it into a mini recital. And I enjoyed the sort of flow of the pieces that Ciaran chose. And I also really like the repertoire because I feel like there's so much guitar music that nobody plays. And I don't hear those Kellner pieces very often. I never hear the Guerrero pieces, and I rarely hear that Dien's piece. So for me, this was all like really refreshing to just hear somebody exploring some of the repertoire that isn't standard. I thought there were a lot of like kind of different rhythmic moods in each piece that for me was sort of one of the challenges that kind of program would present. The Kellner in particular, I think you have to find a tricky balance between being really rhythmically free and having a really steady pulse to, and sort of working with that to do a really convincing interpretation is a challenge of that piece for sure. And I thought, I mean, concluding this little program with the DNs, I thought was really beautiful. And I felt, Ciaran, like you really kind of settled into the piece. And I really enjoyed some of these like really big sort of arcing phrases and like long lyrical lines. And I think there you really created like a great mood with that piece. Yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the performance.
Thank you, Emma.
Yeah, that's excellent. It's really, really, very insightful feedback. And I think like it's interesting. We would be remiss to not come to our French jury member after we've heard some music. But but of course, yes. It's not actually DNs. It's a DNs arrangement, right? But it's Marguerite Monod and Edith Piaf, right? Yeah. And I think E flat in the bass.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's got and when you were talking about these long phrases, Emma, and like the resonance, you mentioned that, Kate. It's a funny thing, but like obviously normally our E string is the E, the low string is E, and we've heard a lot in this competition tuning in between pieces because there's nothing we can do about it. We've asked them to do an unedited video performance, so if they want to choose repertoire where the tuning moves around, they're going to have to include that because they can't nip off and cut or splice or jump off stage. And you know, when it goes to E flat though, in between E and D, and we get drop D a lot, there's just something. The guitar has a different, speaks differently. Opens up. Yeah, exactly, Thomas. Yeah. How did you find that? How did you find the DN's arrangement?
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I mean it's always a gorgeous thing. So I thought it was lyrical. I could hear the song, which is the most important thing. And those songs are so he did those 2 books of French chansons. And some of they are older. Like a lot of them I didn't know when I was a child. That was not what I was listening to. And this one is very famous, obviously, but I think that's it's great when I hear those arrangements and I can actually hear the actual song behind it, because I'm sure a lot of players actually don't know, like I was when I was younger, don't know those original songs. And then you start playing the piece and it's kind of like a guitar piece, and you don't really see what it's supposed to sound like, and but he did a great job. Yeah, it sounded really nice.
Excellent. I mean, we had quite a lot of Roland Diens's music already. It was played in an earlier heat. We heard some Song Capricorn. We're hearing more Diens tonight, later on, actually, with one of our competitors too. And Diens is one of these guitarists that actually, of course, was a classical guitar player, and you can hear, his recordings of the more standard repertoire. Very famous for playing the Malbra variations by Fernando Sor and things like that in his concert. But obviously, a real vehicle for his own writing, his own composition and improvisation. And that brings me to a comment in the chat. And it would be nice to hear, Thomas and Emma, your thoughts on this. We had a comment earlier here, and I'll just read it out. It says, it's from Poyraz Engen. I hope that's a good pronunciation. I'm doing my best here. Today, instrumentalists choose a piece of work. They master that piece and interpret the piece. I believe, as in Poyraz believes, that a performer should develop his or her improvisation ability as well as his technical capacity. So where are your thoughts, especially coming from DNs there, on developing improvisation? Maybe we could come to Emma first. What do you think about developing as an improviser as well as a classical musician, in inverted commas, I guess?
I'm working on it, man.
Why is it not done already?
No, I mean, that's a great comment. And that's definitely, something that I've struggled with. And I know so many other classical guitarists and classical musicians in general. If you show up at a party and say you've studied guitar for 10 years and then somebody asks you to jam and you just freeze. This is, I think, a common experience. I think it's just great to work on all our improvisational skills, whether it's in, a kind of classical framework, like, exploring Baroque improvisation, or whether it's, just sort of feeling free with your instrument and maybe being able to hang out with the rockers.
The cool thing, yeah. What are your thoughts, Thomas? Like, how can it help us, or what can it help us do?
Yeah, I totally agree with Emma, and I've been in this situation so many times that actually I hate it, and I decided to take care of this. But yeah, I agree with Poyraz. I think we definitely need that aspect, but this is not taught, so we can't be hard on ourselves. It's not part of a skill set. What we do is very, very different from what jazz guitarist student does, completely different. We spent 5 hours doing technical exercises, scales to develop like this kind of like, we don't spend that time exploring other things. That said, I think it's a mistake. It really should be part of our thing. But there's many types of improvisations. So when we feel bad, it's because we see jazz player just like, but it's a language, and we also learn a language, and I think what improvisation should be is a way to connect with the instrument. But we can get to that. We can get to that without actually improvising or without jamming. We can get to that with a feeling of when we play a piece that's already written, making it sound like it's improvised. And that I think it's my goal, anyways. It's what I try to get to my students. I think it's just that feeling of renewed, experience every time you play it. And I think that requires a lot of a big mastery of the instrument to decide on the spot what you want to do with the music, with the phrasing, the articulation, changing fingerings, changing everything, basically, just as if you feel like it, and you have to understand the piece, like very deeply, like you kind of wrote it at that point, so when you develop all that, it's a bit akin to what other jazz or rock or whatever other styles that improvise more do. But that's a different skill set. It's true that it's not really what we're taught. It's always like that. This phrase goes like this. You play a staccato on this note, and that's how you're gonna play it.
Yeah. Y'all just need to come to more bonfires with me. That's what you need to do. You want to jam?
Yes, I noticed. That is true. I noticed that a few beers usually take care of the inhibitions of most classical guitarists.
Yeah. And with the rockers, you're trying to get them to stop the beers. So that's it. It's good. Yeah, maybe it encourages to take a little bit more risk in the music as well and commit to the interpretation that we maybe really feel inside. I think it's all about getting our own expressivity out. And I think it's a really important tool. Well, it leads us on actually to our fourth competitor of the evening, Dalton McLaughlin, and he is actually playing two pieces that he's composed himself. And we've there was no set piece, there was no criteria. You must play something from the Baroque, something from the last 50 years. It was free choice. And actually, it's been a really nice, just accidental byproduct, let's say, of the competition, where we've heard a lot of new music over the last couple of nights. And we've heard some really, really varied repertoire, some stuff that actually, last night we were all sort of going, is there anybody that knows this piece on the panel? It was really catching us out, some of the repertoire, which is fantastic because it's, we're all getting older, so we need to know what the kids like these days. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so back to Dalton. Piece 1 is called Inspired by Callum, and piece 2 is called Terminal 5, obviously both his own compositions. Why these pieces? He reached out to me and asked if he could do it, and I said yes. Inspired by Callum is based on a piece by Tabula Rasa, a fingerstyle guitarist, Callum Graham. It's a fingerstyle-like piece, but performed on classical guitar. It's very light and upbeat. And Terminal 5 is based on seeing San Holo, an EDM, electronic dance music, DJ in concert in a venue in New York City. The venue was called Terminal 5. So essentially, it's EDM for classical guitar. It features a lot of tapping, percussion, rasgueados, and a climactic build-up and drop, just like in EDM music. So, the first, for me, certainly, take it away, Dalton.
Wow, very creative stuff from Dalton McLaughlin there. Emma, I'm going to go straight to you with a question. Before we talk about the music and the performance, when he was tuning, he did a thing where he mashed down on the strings and then yanked on them. Why? What is the purpose of that?
Oh, it's just another trick to try and get our very finicky instrument in tune. So
how does that work?
Just sort of like strings have really good memories. So if you sort of change them from where they're used to sitting, they want to sort of slowly creep back to, their original position. So our desperate hope is that if we kind of stretch on the string a bit and sort of force it into its new pitch, that it'll be happier staying there.
Okay. That's really interesting. I think maybe some of the people watching were wondering, why are you abusing? Why are you being so mean to your guitar? But okay, that makes sense.
It's a curse of us guitar players. It's actually impossible to tune a guitar, and that's proven. That's known facts. So there's this joke going around that just says we spend half our lives tuning the guitar, and then we spend the other half playing out of tune. So
fair enough. Okay, so in tune or not in tune, Emma, what are your takes on those two performances?
Oh, it was great. This is repertoire that we don't usually hear in a classical guitar competition, and I think that is just fine to sort of expand what we're hearing in this kind of setting. I think this kind of fingerstyle guitar seems incredibly complicated because you have to be navigating so many different extended techniques at once. And sort of delivering a really convincing, sort of rhythmic punch in the middle of everything else. And I thought this was a really good performance. I enjoyed both the pieces. And as we were saying in the intro, the sort of arc in the second piece was really great, where the sort of intensity of the piece built up. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I saw that this is a high school teacher, and I think the students must be really happy to have somebody who's really interested in exploring the instrument in that way, and also somebody that's being active in the guitar world and being in a guitar competition. I think that's really great and must be really inspiring for your students.
Yeah, really nice. Really nice, really different as well. It's like I always think it's very interesting people's pathways into classical guitar. 9 times out of 10, they were over at the dark side, playing a bit of electric guitar, and then, or they started on classical, went to the dark side, and then came back. And it's really interesting. Like when you're doing auditions at schools, like you all do this, and you're sort of getting maybe a personal statement or sort of information from a sort of petition, like a potential auditionee or whatever, and they tell you like, I played rock guitar. It's like Ryan saying he queued for 9 hours to go to a Muse concert. It's like there's a sort of frustrated fingerstyle rock guitarist in all of us, I always think, and then it's like, you find in that repertoire. So I found it so refreshing. It was quite joyful listening to Dalton, just really, really positive the entire way through. And you're right, Emma, the students are really lucky to have him. Okay, let's crack on.
All right.
Competitor number 5. You're up, Kate. Who've we got?
Okay, number 5. Stefano Moccetti, everybody. Stefano is from Lugano, Switzerland, currently doing a PhD at the Surrey University in Guildford. We are going to hear Mordians, this time Tango in Sky, and then some variations on Schubert's Wiegenlied from Efrabe. Now, they're very contrasting pieces. This is why Stefano chose them. This is interesting. So Rabe's variations share a little played yet beautiful composition that allows the performer to explore all the colors of the guitar. And Tango in Sky is a composition that Stefano has always loved, full of character and rhythm. As for Stefano's guitar, it's made by the luthier Antonio Marin Montero from Granada with a strong, clear, yet natural sound. Wow. Grazie, Stefano. This particular performance, the chat room, as you could see, Matthew throwing up quotes right, left, and sideways. They had much to say about this. This was quite a feast for the eyes as well as the ears. Thomas, we have some reflections from you on this.
Yes, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Really nice performance. I mean, just very professionally delivered, I thought. Yes, the space was obviously very nice. Lots of reverb. Reverb is always best. The more the better. Okay, I mean, kind of, it's nice, but you could still hear the sound, which was very nice. Both pieces were great. The tango was one of the best I've heard. I think it was very fun. It's tango on sky. Sky is like this pleather, right? It's like fake, so it's not a serious piece. I think Diaz just wanted something as fantasist, as silly and funny as possible, and I thought this was done very nicely. I think Diaz would have approved. He would have put his seal of approval on that performance. Yeah,
wonderful. Merci, Emma. Emma, some notes on this?
Oh yeah, I also thought this was a really engaging performance. I mean, I've heard Tango in Sky so many times. It's like very easy to see this on a program and kind of give a little eye roll. But then, you hear a great performance of it and you're reminded of why it's a #1 hit. It's played so often for a reason. I thought maybe we could just note that, I mean, this video is recorded in a stellar space with a great acoustic, but not everybody has that kind of space available to them. And, not everybody has like the best microphones or equipment or whatever. So I think I just wanted to note that I don't for sure, take those things into account when I'm, listening to performances, because, people are doing their best performances, whether it's in a beautiful church or whether it's in a practice room at their school. And I think we can all sort of listen to the music, between those things.
Yeah, that's a great point, Emma, because we're not judging. There's no criteria about, what camera do you have? What microphones have you used? Have you been able to hire, the Basilica in Rome? I mean, it's like, Stefano is very lucky. It's a great acoustic. But the thing that Thomas, mentioned as well is like the acoustic didn't overwhelm his performance. It was so clear. We could hear everything that was going on, so you can make that judgment, because it's there was a comment in the chat. It's a wee bit further back now, but I'll see if I can find it. Phil Tadman said, I remember Julian Bream saying he would alter the tempo of his performances depending on the acoustics of the venue, and that's really interesting, because sometimes students, the first thing they'll say is like, what does it say at the top left of the page? Is it, crotch equals 140, crotch equals 160? It needs to be that. And I'm saying, well, it depends where you are. I mean, right now we might be in a really dry teaching room, so maybe take it a bit faster. But if you're in a big reverberant space like that, you maybe have to bring the tempo back, because it does overwhelm, So really interesting to hear your thoughts on, like, you're not sort of going, okay, there's a beautiful acoustic, that means it's better. You're really sort of just thinking everybody. I mean, we just heard Dalton, who was in a room in the school where he teaches, so I love that comment. I think it's really true.
Yeah, and I think it ties with improvisation comment beforehand. If you're able to do that, that's also, you making decisions on the spot, if you can alter the tempo of your piece.
Yeah. I always think you have to consider like the acoustic of your space almost as, an extra part of your instrument.
Yeah, of course.
It just really affects your performance so much. Yeah,
you have to pay attention to what the people are hearing, basically.
Yeah, we could hear that in the rebate, I think, because it's obviously like the thick textures of the chords. Like, I think Stefano was really enjoying the feedback he was getting from the space, and that it was really lush. I think someone said that in the comments. It was lush.
It was seconds.
Yeah, like woo, like this, you know, amazing.
The last day
Amazing.
on sculpted.
Yeah. I think he's still playing actually, right now, Well, listen, this is a really nice opportunity. Before we move into the sort of second stage, I'm just going to take a little bit of time, give the judges a little bit of a break, and talk a little bit to the community and to all the performers as well about the prizes and the sponsors of our wonderful competition. So it's the Gallery of Guitar competition, and these obviously are the 3 heats, this one being the final heat this evening. 6 finalists will be selected from all the players that have performed over the last 3 nights. And those 6 finalists are invited to Scotland, to the Laidlaw Music Centre in the University of St Andrews on the east coast of Scotland, where they will perform at that point really just a fantastic concert, a fantastic celebration of them, their talent and the repertoire that they choose. And a live jury, of course, will then select 3, a first, a second and a third, and a prize winner. And the prizes are really fantastic for the winners. There are cash prizes, which is very important to the young musician these days, of course, covering all sorts of costs that they have. And then there are really special prizes. For the first prize, there is a wonderful brand new guitar built by the Scottish luthier Mark Burnett. Mark's been present in the chat, every night. He's actually just got a newborn baby of a couple of weeks old, I think. So he's a very busy man at the moment. And if you go in the Gallery of Guitar, you'll actually see the process of him bringing this guitar to life. It's absolutely fantastic. You'll see me going out to his workshop last year, looking at all the different bits of the guitar on his workbench, and then just about a month or so ago, going back to his workshop when he'd assembled the whole instrument together and playing some of the first notes on it. And whoever wins it is just in for a treat. It's an absolutely beautiful spruce top guitar, very traditionally made with an absolutely gorgeous sound and a fantastic oil finish. It's a really beautiful instrument. That instrument will be housed in a case made by Alba Guitar Beads. Now, Alba Guitar Beads is a Scottish-based company which innovates and solves a lot of issues that us guitarists have. So they do all sorts of things like guitar supports. They do Alba Guitar Beads. Their actual name comes from beads that they put in down at the tie block of the bridge of the guitar, which helps with intonation and security of attaching the strings to the tie block. All sorts of clever, innovative ideas that they have around helping out both the classical and the flamenco guitarist. And Alba Guitar Beads have donated a beautiful carbon fiber case to house Mark Burnett's new guitar in. And then, of course, there are prizes that go beyond just those material things. The prize winner will be invited back to that venue, the Laidlaw Music Centre, the McPherson Recital Room at the University of St Andrews in 2025, going back in time, to perform their own recital, their own concert as part of the Classical Guitar Retreat. Classical Guitar Retreat's been a festival that's ran in Scotland for 14 years, and it's now moved over to the University of St Andrews. It used to be out on the West Coast, now it's on the East Coast. And it's a really fantastic festival. Lots of concerts, teaching, workshops, classes, and lots of concerts throughout the week celebrating different performers and different styles. And of course, on the Sunday, it hosts the final of our Gallery of Guitar competition. So all our jury have been working really hard in the background for the last few days, putting together scores for all the players. And tomorrow evening at the same time, Kate and I will come on and we will give a results show. We will tell you who those 6 finalists are and play a little excerpt of some of their recordings from this preliminary round. So you'll get to hear the 6 finalists, just a little bit of their performances again, just to get you excited about coming back and hearing the final, which will be live streamed on Gallery of Guitar. So even if you can't make it to St Andrews, you can't make it to Scotland in July, you will be able to see and hear those performances online. So it's time to welcome back our jury. Hopefully they've had a wee break and they've got themselves all ready for the next 4 performers. And what's really wonderful is we're able to invite Mr. Stephen Mattingly, because he's made it. Hello, Stephen. How are you doing? It's great to have you with us.
Great to be here.
Hi, Stephen.
Yeah.
It's great. Thanks for joining us. Sorry you got a little bit waylaid on the way, but it's great. You get to hear 4 fantastic performers. I know you'll catch up with the other players' performances and later on, but now you get to join us live.
Glad to be here.
That's great. Excellent.
Sorry for the
Excellent.
delay.
No worries. It's just fantastic to have you with us. So, Kate, can you put up our next performer for us? Let us know who we're going to hear.
Oh, absolutely. I am very pleased to introduce you now to Kianush Robeson. living in Bexhill-on-Sea, East Sussex. Kianush will be performing the preludes, several of them, quite a few, by Manuel Ponce, and the Etruscan preludes by Reginald Smith-Brindle. A contrast between early and late 20th century styles of guitar writing. I'm speaking about the actual guitar that Kianush is playing. It's a Woodfield guitar built by Oliver Moore and Philip Woodfield, a very special instrument, a lattice braced, loud, but very warm and colorful sound. By the way, tune into, I think it was Heat 1's performance to learn all about lattice bracing and what that means, if you don't know. And a fun fact, Kianush runs the AK Classical Guitar Society, which has 2 groups, shout out Hertfordshire, and the Bexhill Classical Guitar Societies. Oh, thank you, Kianush. Oh, so many colors in that. And well, okay, I think now would be a perfect time for us all to meet and chat with Stephen Mattingly. Stephen Mattingly, hi.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, so I think you've gotten the gist of how we're doing this right now.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Give us some feelings about this performance that we just watched.
Well, the performance for me was impressive before it even started in the repertoire selection. And I think that's a difficult thing to do in any circumstance, but for a competition, in particular one where it's online and you've got this limited window, literally, to express yourself, I think the repertoire selection is where it all starts. And we've heard a set of two contrasting composers, but that pair very well together. And I think, in my opinion, repertoire that we really don't hear quite enough. And all of our kind of masterpieces and highlights of the rep have their day. And it's time for us to start hearing more of what Kianush has presented for us. Particularly, he was so sensitive in both settings. So it made for a very enjoyable performance, in my opinion.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thomas, would you like to build on that?
Yeah, I thought it was also a very interesting a choice of repertoire. I thought it was obviously very contrasting. I would have liked to hear a longer piece in all that. I know the time constraints is a little bit, it's kind of short, but they're all very short little ideas, little sketches, and it requires a certain, level of focus, I would say, to and it's a step of work to really just like shape a little very short miniature this way, but it's very different to actually build on a longer piece, even a set of variations like we just heard. I mean, and it would have been nice, I thought, to hear this, but I thought it was very interesting repertoire and just played wonderfully. So yeah, wow.
Emma, so much music and so many thoughts to have on it, but I'm sure you have more. There's more to say about this from Kianush. Would you like to share?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I really enjoyed this performance also. And I did like the repertoire choices and didn't mind that it was all these miniatures. And I just felt that he brought a real level of like good preparation to each piece that he played. Like it just seemed like such solid playing, whether it was a sort of highly virtuosic moment or whether it was a more sort of reserved moment. I thought it just seemed like he'd really done the work to prepare for this. It's really it's a great performance.
Excellent. Thank you, Emma. Matthew, so much happening.
There's so much happening, and it's just, I'm kind of amazed, this is the first year of doing this Gallery of Guitar competition. And obviously it's kind of, as I was talking about before we heard Kianush, it's also bringing people live. We're going from online to live in the next stage of the competition. And of course it will still be broadcast online so people can hear the performers again. But the take up and the interest and the quality of what so many of these young players over the last 3 nights have produced is really, really impressive. And like Stephen said, we're refinding out. We're sort of going back to some of this repertoire that, like, maybe it hasn't been completely forgotten, but we've heard such interesting pathways that the performers have decided to pair music together. And I think that free choice element I was worried about it, to be honest. I was thinking, what will people do? And we've just heard such a breadth of expressivity from people, and it's maybe giving them the opportunity to take ownership and have the confidence to choose the music that they want to play. It's really, really impressive what we've heard, I think, and it's going to continue now as well. So our next performer, Misha Ruzov, he's currently studying in London at the Royal College of Music. I mean, you can't win them all, Misha. Do you know what I mean? But he grew up in Edinburgh, so there we go. Do you know what I mean? It gets better right there, I'm just joking, Misha. He's a fantastic. Imagine studying at the Royal College of Music. That's wonderful. He's going to play David Russell's arrangement of the Handel Passacaglia and Agustin Barrios's Choro du Sauvage. So really contrasting repertoire choices there, really hitting the brief spot on, Misha. You've got Handel and a Passacaglia, and then that really lamentful and beautifully nostalgic piece by Barrios. Why these pieces? Well, he's always loved David Russell's Baroque playing, Who doesn't? And remembers coming across this piece a few years back. The gradual build-up of tension and complexity from an initial stately and solemn theme really captivated him. As soon as he believed his technique was up to the standard to try, he knew he had to have a go. He'd heard it on recording so many times by David. And the Choro del Sadaj, he's always found nostalgia to be one of the stronger and more interesting emotions that one can find expressed in music. Therefore, the Choro's theme of longing appealed to him in a great way. The intimate little piece for him brings forth associations with dark blue tones and is probably one of his favourite Barrios compositions of the moment. So a bit of synesthesia there, seeing colours in the music, which is a really interesting thing that I think happens to a lot of performers. The provenance of his guitar, he's currently playing a Stephen Eden cedar guitar. He picked it for its bright yet rounded sound, especially close to the 12th fret. And it's a nice instrument that's lasted him a few years now. So he's had it for a while. So let's hear Misha. Wow, bravo, Misha. Wow, intense performance. It was just, I think we were, I said this, I don't know if it was last night or the night before, but even though it's online, after a while, with a particular type of performer, with a particular type of intensity, you get really drawn in. And, I could feel like, sometimes it's actually funny. It's when the comments go quiet and then it all pours out after the person plays, because actually you're sort of transfixed. So I want to come round all of our jury there with Misha's performance. Maybe start with you, Thomas. Ambitious repertoire there, really ambitious. Wow. What are your thoughts there on Misha's performance?
No, it was beautiful. I really liked it. The repertoire was, gorgeous pieces. Were some of the most beautiful pieces in the guitar repertoire, and I think it's great that Misha chose those because he seemed, from the explanations of why he chose those pieces, it sounded like he really had a connection to those pieces. That almost like that's kind of why he went into the guitar in the first place. Just, I don't know. We all have those. I think, and it's great. I think it's, if you find a connection, this type of intimate connection to the repertoire you play. There's this saying like, love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
And as a student, I think this is very important to keep in mind. Sometimes it goes away. We love that piece so much, we want to play it, and you start working on it, and there's all those like physical problems that arise, and you forget why in the first place you wanted to play this. But I think like if you can keep a line, and it sounded honestly in that performance that he just kept that through the work. That's obvious, that love of this repertoire. So
yeah, great insights. And Emma, what struck you about Misha's performance there?
Well, just that the rep was so hard.
I was thinking that too.
The Handel Passacaglia, there's just so many technical challenges, layered on there, and with every variation, there's something, every section, there's something new. It was clear that there was a lot of work that had gone into that, which resulted in a really I thought like a pretty compelling and like very confident performance. And I noticed that throughout the whole, throughout both pieces, it really was, an extremely confident performance. And I mean, definitely like very intense. I wonder actually if it's like, it would be difficult to keep up that level of intensity for an entire concert program, for example. So I try sometimes to think about ways to build in sort of moments, for the performer and the audience to be able to catch their breath a little bit.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I felt like we actually saw Misha move a little bit more, when in the Barrios, he actually was turning his body a little bit more. And I felt like, he was feeling that dance of the choro. He was feeling that sort of rhythm. Obviously, like you say, the handle, I mean, it's fiendish. So you have to have the guitar in a very stable and fixed position because you are playing arpeggio after arpeggio, and it's so difficult. And I mean, it's funny, he's obviously studying down in London with Gary, I think, at the Royal College. And it's, I always find it whenever you see solutions to really difficult problems, I'm always like, oh, how are you going to do this bit? Are you going to use a campanella fingering? Are you going to slur that? What's the stuff that's going on? So I thought Misha had some really cool solutions to what are fiendishly hard problems. I mean, obviously when we hear David Russell do it, it all sounds pretty easy, but for mere mortals, it's a kind of like, we've got to figure out how to square that circle, So Steve, coming down to you there in Louisville, what were your thoughts about his choice? I mean, like the Barrios and the handle together, what do you think? Very contrasting.
Yeah, I think contrasting, but in a way that makes sense. So it's kind of like pairing dishes in a meal. He's not giving us a surprise that's completely incongruous with what it went before. And I also noted that he didn't play to the room. He played as if he was in a concert hall, and that I think was one of the things that was most compelling.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he has understood. It was that intensity that we were talking about at the beginning. I wonder, like, also you mentioned, I think, or someone mentioned, it was Kate, or mentioned the description, maybe talking about of his piece. He's like, why he's playing the repertoire he's playing. It's very personal, right? And I mean, I think that sets a scene for us. What do you think? Like, it sets the atmosphere.
It does, and that's something that for anyone who I can see on stage having a great time with the piece they're playing. Well, I mean, depending on the mood and the affect, of course, it might present itself differently. But clearly, Misha loves the instrument and loves this music that he's playing, and that comes across. And I think it's something that would be an audience favorite of any performer.
Yeah, absolutely. And you probably come back to these pieces as well. I mean, I always think that about, something so ambitious as that Handel Passacaglia. I mean, if you get it in your fingers at that age, you're always going to be able to return to it as your career develops, and you might think about the music differently in a couple of years or even next month, you never know. And I'm not saying that Misha is in any way, thinking about it wrong at all. I've really enjoyed it. But I think, like, once you've scaled Everest like that, at a young age, you can fall back on that as you get a little bit older and as your tastes change, and you can come at some of the phrases from a different perspective. So it's great to see complex material like that getting under the fingers of young players so early on in the development. It's impressive for sure,
Truly.
Okay, so who is our next impressive competitor, Kate?
We're going to move on to number 8. Although first I'm going to note we've had a Villa-Lobos fanboy and a Muse fanboy, and you, Matthew McAllister, are the biggest David Russell fanboy I have ever met in my life. Okay.
Totally true. Totally
deserved,
true.
but yes.
It's like a bromance. Do you know what I mean? I'm in love. Like, but he knows. He's got a restraining order, so it's fine. I can't go 50 meters. I've got to stay about 50 meters away. That's the agreement, and it's fair enough. I understand.
So just keep it right here, in chat and on the screen, and we should be safe for the rest of the evening. Moving to number 8, to Eugen Treichel from Germany, playing work of Rodrigo. This is a really wide variety. So we're going to hear Rodrigo, Weiss, and Elliott Carter. He wanted to be as contrasting as possible. We're definitely seeing that. So starting with the Joyful Sonata by Joaquin Rodrigo. And he likes that because it puts flamenco music into a classical sonata form with some sharp dissonances that he thinks are good humored. And Rodrigo mentioned that those are meant to kind of be a nod to Scarlatti. Then after that, Silvius Leopold Weiss, one of the greatest lutanists of all time, arguably the best, according to Eugen. This is interesting because we talked about improvisation, etc. tonight. And in this instance, he chose this because the performer can get creative and come up with fun ornaments. And then finally, Shard by Elliot Carter. Now, Carter was not a guitarist, but shows deep understanding of the guitar's abilities. And Eugen says it is one of the most challenging pieces he's ever played. It can also, so heads up audience, be challenging for the audience to wrap your head around at first because it does not follow traditional harmonic patterns, but Eugen promises it is really worth giving a listen. And finally, I will tell you that we have yet another guitar made by Michael G, played by Eugen right now. So here we go. Take it away.
Oof. Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, wow, what a performance. Well, I'm almost speechless. There you go. And that's something to be said for me, I tell you. Stephen, can we come to you first? What are your, initial thoughts there?
Well, it's never easy to pull off something like Shard and make it as expressive and emotive as we've heard here. And I just say bravo to that. Every time that piece is played, I think it's kind of an attempt at your life to pull it off. And it's definitely a fun ride for both audience and performer.
Absolutely. And his program absolutely hit the brief on the, right there. It was incredibly contrasting. But also, Thomas, how do you feel? I think it allowed him to show a lot of himself, musically as well. It allowed him to do a lot of things, right?
Yeah. I thought that was a great program for. It's difficult, the programming is very important in compositions because because you have only a short amount of time and you want to show as much as yourself as possible and only your good side. It's true, and that was really nicely done because it was very varied in technically demanding repertoire all the time. And but also with a wide range of different things, and I think we got to really see what he's made of, and it was impressive. It was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Emma, how did you feel about it?
Oh, I was really struck just by the clarity of the performance. So not only was it technically, of course, like really well prepared and really clean, but just the clarity of the lines, of the performer's intention, of I think the composer's intention it was all really there, and that for me is really important. And that was really nice to hear.
Yeah. I kind of felt, I don't know, maybe you shared a little bit of this, but I started to not listen to Eugen that much, and I was just kind of listening to the pieces of music. Like I know he had this sort of black background behind him, and then he really stood out at the beginning in terms of just his appearance. Like I don't know if it was a green screen or something like that, or something like a filter to cover the background, but it was just like immediately at the beginning with the Rodrigo, I was like, okay, here we go. But then I sort of just was listening, like you say, to the line, because his clarity, I think you said clarity as well, or clear, his intent was really obvious the whole way through. Very, very impressive playing. And also just the articulation. I don't know if how you're feeling about that, but I felt like it was very clean, very, very clear, everything that was going on. Just the articulation of the right hand, really, really impressive stuff. Well, Kate, we're come to the last performer of the evening.
Oh my goodness. One more. And just a quick note to everybody watching, please do click like on this if you are watching and you're enjoying it. It tells the YouTube that Maestro McAllister and Gallery of Guitar make good stuff, which they do. So please do click the like and jump on in there as we jump into our final performer for the evening. I would like you all to meet next Lukáš Zubko from Prague, Czech Republic. We'll be hearing some Bach and some Giuliani. So first, the Bach is the Courant. If you like your catalog number, it's BWV 995. And then the Giuliani is a set of variations on an aria from Botello. So a little Rossini, Giuliani business happening there. And this is interesting to me anyway. One of the reasons that Lukáš chose the Bach was to improve his Baroque interpretation. So I think that's interesting that to prepare it for competition, to really get in and dig in there. So the variations aren't known very well. He really enjoys this piece by Giuliani, so wants to bring that to light, these variations on the Rossini aria. And then finally, the guitar is a model inspired by F. Simplicio, built by a Czech luthier, Petr Laška. And he wants you to know as a fun fact that spicy food and Lukáš are not very good friends. Oh my goodness. I need to shake my hands out just after watching all of that. And with that, Lukáš, not only our final performer for the evening, but the final in our preliminary round, we have seen 27 performers over the last 3 nights, and it has been stunning. And if you missed any of the nights, you can go onto YouTube, watch the first 2 heats so that you're prepared for the big reveal of the finalists tomorrow. But oh my goodness. All right. So let's start. Emma, let's talk about any feedback that you have for Lukáš or how that affected you. And then also how that performance kind of weaves into the tapestry of this whole night for you.
Yeah, I loved this performance. I thought Lukáš did a great job, and it felt to me like there was so many great sort of playful moments. The playing had a lot of movement in it, and I just felt it was really engaging, and you could really hear like the personality of the performer coming through the music, and I felt he really really enjoyed the repertoire he was playing, which is always so great to see. So yeah, this was just so full of expression, and I really enjoyed it. And I think it's a great way to cap off the evening and the whole, this preliminary round. There's been so many really interesting performances. I've heard so much different repertoire, and yeah, it's been a really great time listening to all these players.
Absolutely. And, really enjoying something yourself, I think really helps. That's infectious to the audience. It's very enjoyable to everybody watching. Thomas, would you like to add to what Emma just said?
Yeah, I agree, Emma. I'll just say exactly the same things. I thought it was very engaging, very fun, and his performance was, I think, spot on with the styles. Really, I thought he chose his rep very nicely for that. Yes, and what a great way to end, obviously, with a little bit of 19th century fireworks on the guitar. That's always a nice thing. Yeah, it was great. I think I'm gonna go practice tonight after this.
Hey, if any of the performances you're seeing are making you want to go practice, that means they're doing a good job,
Yeah,
right?
all of them,
Truly.
honestly. Yeah. No.
I love that. Okay, well, last in, last out, Senor Mattingly. What would you like to share?
Yeah, I think you used the word infectious. That's absolutely what it is. And I share Thomas' view that I'll be practicing tonight. I always feel that way with the ends of these Giuliani variation sets, that you kind of have to imagine Bugs Bunny with the orchestra getting faster and faster and faster. Yeah, it's brilliant rep. And I thought it was very relatable that Lukáš shared that he chose Baroque music for his intention to become better at interpreting that style. And I think that's something to reveal in all of us. We can always better our approach stylistically.
Yeah, I think in general, we've seen so much courage and creativity tonight and throughout the entire competition. Matthew, last word. Maestro, what you got?
Well, it's only the last word for now, We'll be coming back tomorrow to reveal who our 6 finalists are that will make it to St Andrews, to come to Scotland. Yeah, I am blown away. I really mean it. And it's been really special to have so much talent on display. Like you said, it's creativity. We've seen a lot of that. We've seen clever programming, but we've seen something that Thomas mentioned earlier tonight, passion, and passion for the instrument, passion for making music. We've heard some repertoire that all of us were surprised by or didn't see coming. And that's what it's always about. It's about finding out about new things, being introduced to new styles of playing, new people, new personalities, another generation of young guitarists coming through who are going to make their mark on our world, which is just so exciting to hear and see. And I have to say a big thank you to all of the competitors, for everybody who submitted a video. I hope you feel that your video has been celebrated. We have really sincerely enjoyed everything that has come our way over the last 3 nights. The 27 performers have all shown so much skill, and it's been really great to see. And we'll keep tabs on you all. We'll see you all develop and go on to great things. I'm sure of it after hearing so much great things the last couple of days. Tomorrow night, Kate and I will get together again. The same time, you'll see the thumbnail, the live stream appear very soon on Gallery Guitar for that, and that'll be a roundup. That'll be our 6 finalists, a little clip of each of them, and letting you all know who we've chosen. I would like to thank all of the judges that have been with us for the last 3 nights. Of course, Thomas, Emma, Stephen tonight, thank you so much for your wisdom and your advice. We had Katrin Klingerberg with us. We had Svanur Vilbergsen. We had Matthew Cochrane, Uros Baric, Katrina Lee. We've just had a host of people join us every evening, and I think the competitors will really, really appreciate all of your advice because it's really invaluable to them. So, it's just a great 3 evenings of guitar. What more can you want? It's been fabulous. It's been great. Kate, you've been a wonderful co-host. I look forward to working with you again tomorrow when we do the big reveal. But for everybody out there watching in the community, you have been part of this too. Your comments have been shared on screen so that the competitors and performers can hear what you feel about the music too. And that is really what it's about. If you're not there, then who are we playing to? Who are we making the music for? So thank you all for listening in and for enjoying the music and sharing your thoughts with the community. So nothing more, but have a great evening. Goodbye for now, and we will see you tomorrow for the results show. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you. Bravo.
Bye for now.
Wow.
Bravo all.